Thank you, everyone, for joining us, and I'd like to welcome you to Rose City Rollers' first ever Twitch stream and the official retrospective of the 2015 WFTDA International Championship Final. Of course, this was the night that the Rose City Rollers finally got to hoist the coveted Hydra for the first time when they upset the four-time defending champion Gotham roller derby, who were looking for their sixth title overall. Today is the very anniversary of what has now become known as one of the most historic moments in flat track history. I'm your host for tonight's stream, the Derby Nerd, and I was the sideline announcer at that 2015 International WFTDA Championship. And I'm coming at you live from Toronto on the traditional territories of the Mississauga, Anishinaabe, and I am unbelievably honored to be part of this incredible panel for this retrospective. I'll be joined tonight by both past and current skaters and from the Rose City Rollers Wheels of Justice. So, without further ado, let's meet these panelists. Panelists, please come in, join me, introduce yourselves. I'm sure that our viewers are as excited to hear your insights as I am. So maybe, Elicia, we can start with you. Please tell the audience who you are, how long you've been skating, your position, etc.
Hi, I'm Elicia Nisbet-Smith. I have been playing roller derby since 2006. And I have been skating with Rose City since 2014. I am a blocker. I was a blocker in this game that we're about to watch. And I am currently one of the team captains.
And maybe, Loren, over to you. We'll just keep going in order here.
Hi, I'm Loren Mutch. I started playing roller derby in 2007. I've played with Rose City since 2012, and I was a jammer in this game, and I am still a jammer for this team, and I'm excited.
And Juniper?
Yeah, Juniper Simonis. I use they, them pronouns. I started skating in 2012, and this year that we're going to watch is actually my first season with Rose City. I started in the middle part of the season in 2015, and I was jamming then, and I wasn't rostered, but you'll see me on the sidelines with my arms waving and yelling at Eagle and all of the other jammers and doing things. So I was a new member to the team on the charter, but not on the roster for this game. And now I am a blocker. I'm still skating with the Wheels of Justice whenever we can get back together again.
Jessica?
Okay. Do I say Jessica or my other name?
However you want to be known as tonight.
My name's Licker'N'Split, and I started skating in 2008 with the Rose City Rollers, and so a long, long time, however many years that is. I was a jammer in this game, and I am currently retired from Wheels of Justice, but skating home teams as soon as we get back to it.
And we'll talk about that name. Probably that'll come up at some point during this conversation, I imagine.
Okay.
Scald.
Hey, everybody. I'm Scald Eagle. I am calling in from a tiny town in Colorado called Kremling. So hopefully you'll be able to hear and see me okay in this truck. I started roller derby in 2010 with Rose City Rollers. So I was born and hatched and fledged there. And, am now, this would have been my 10th season. And about 4 years ago, I guess seasons, whatever, all this like when things happen, that's gonna be really hard for me because it's like math and not my forte. Puns are my forte. So I'm thinking I've been with Denver roller derby now for 4 years, and I was a jammer with Rose, and I'm still currently a jammer with Denver.
Awesome, thank you. And Mean.
I am Rocket Mean. I'm the executive director and founder of Rose City Rollers. And so I've been here since 2004. I was also on the original first few years of Wheels of Justice. So, you know, I've been with the team, you know, all the way along as, you know, player at one point and then just basically mom for the rest of the time.
Awesome. Thank you all for being here. We're all really happy to have you here and get your insights into this obviously incredible game. But before we get into the game, let's just talk a little bit about the history of Rose City very broadly and what led up to this historic event and why it was such a big game. I think a lot of flat track roller derby fans who are watching will know that Rose City was one of the first 30, the original members of the WFTDA, and they did appear at the 2006 Dust Devil Invitational, which has now become known as the first WFTDA championship. But between 2007 and 2010, Rose didn't qualify for champs. They were playing in a very, very competitive Western region when the WFTDA was still divided into the regional system. They did return to playoffs, though, in 2011. And because I'm a nerd, I have props. Here's the program. And they lost to another one of those original 30 teams, the Kansas City Roller Warriors there. But for me, and I think that competitively, Rose City really turned a corner at the 2013 championships. There was a quarterfinal match. It was really, really epic. I recommend that you go back and watch it against London that Rose City lost by, I think we'll be getting a bit of a theme here. They lost by 3 points. Oh.
What is that?
Yeah. It's fading away. Sorry, so getting back to that, to the 2013 playoffs, the internet's really upset that you lost that game. It was such a good game. And what really stood out for me in that tournament was you guys went through and just destroyed the consolation bracket. I think a lot of roller derby fans will remember that. There were multiple 400-point games. And I think it was really a preview for the powerhouse that Rose City was about to become. The Jammers in that game, of course, Loren Mutch, Licker'N'Split, Skull Eagle, they were still part of the team in 2014, the next year that made it all the way to the WFTDA championships, only to lose by, yes, 3 points to Gotham roller derby in a heartbreaking game. Well, and that, of course, set up the historic rematch in 2015. But maybe just before we move into to that game specifically, and maybe I'll throw this to Rocket Mean since you've been around. What was going on behind the scenes in terms of the evolution of the team in that 2013-14 year span? The blocker rotation, I noticed, especially changed a lot.
Well, I mean, I would actually rather have the skaters speak to exactly what was happening within the team, because I'm running the big ship and really let the team kind of do their own building up. Like when it comes to looking at the span of us, like I really get to take kind of an outsider's yet still insider's perspective on things. Like to me, there was really pivotal stuff that happened in like 2009, where we really kind of just had some major crash and burn stuff. And then our first trip to champs in 2011, that was also a big pivotal year where I felt like we got to the big show, and then it kind of fell apart, and the team kind of got back together and said, hey, let's fine tune this and let's figure out how to really hold together as a team and lean on each other instead of kind of tear apart. And then that kind of, I think that started really growing. To me, like 2011 was when I really started seeing the team being able to, when things started falling apart, being able to pull themselves back together on the benches. But yeah, I would love for one of the skaters to talk about, 2013 and what that blocker lineup was looking like and the changes that happened within the team.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll throw to Elicia then, because you joined that right around then Rose City, right? So what were you seeing as someone who was coming in?
I can't really speak to 2013. I joined in 2014. And I know there were a decent number of retirements, I believe, through that year and before that. But I feel like Eagle, Mutch, or Licker can probably speak better to what the difference between those 2 years were. I know a lot of change happens through that year, through 2014, for sure. Like I started out on AOA and ended up on the charter and playing in that championship game that year. So there were a lot happened that year, but I feel like I don't know the differences between 2013 and 2014. It sounds like Licker. Yeah,
Licker, your hand was up.
I was actually not skating that year because I had left Oli in 2012 and was coming back to Rose City in 2013. And so,
you were there.
no, I was I there that year?
Yeah, because we played. Yeah, because you.
Because we played in London. We played London. Okay, you're right.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, I can say. Okay, you're right. I thought I was like the weird. Okay, I have Alzheimer's, so it's okay. So I think that it was just the way we practiced. We were practicing a lot. I remember, like, even on Mother's Day, we were practicing. Like, it was just practice. Mercy was leading the ship then, I think, and that's what I remember, practicing hard, and there was like no tolerance for not making it or not showing up and busting your ass. So can I say that on here? A-word.
Well, yeah, I think you're right, though. I think that was the year where all of a sudden travel team had like a big, huge Wednesday practice and then a weekend practice and a weekday practice. And I remember like when Bonnie came to Rose, it was like, whoa, you guys skate a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, maybe just to jog your. Loren, yeah, go ahead.
I think that, after we lost to London in 2013, we had a big like fire underneath us to get going. And in 2014, Mercy would have us practice like sometimes we're like 10 or 11 days in a row. But that was back when we were still like climbing on the way up, you know what I mean? And then now I think it's just a part of our team culture that we already work so hard. And so I think now it's normal to be like, okay, we needed to take a rest day. And so I think that's how it's changed.
Yeah.
You know what else? Ufta brought up that we also made a bunch of changes policy-wise to make it so that people could transfer and could move on to the team easier.
Yeah.
Of course,
and of course, two big pickups.
Stuff.
Two big pickups that year were Jess Rivas and Shayna Errolson, who transferred over from Denver. That seemed to be a big change to the blocking core because really, from 2014 to 15, you didn't change much, but it was the 2013 to 14 where the blocker core really seemed to come together. Well, maybe we should move on now. And so that 2014 game was obviously a heartbreaker in Nashville, the 3-point loss. How did it feel? And maybe, Skald, I'll throw to you for this one, but how did it feel to not only in 2015 get back to the championships, but to have an opportunity to play the same team? So like to get some revenge on Gotham. Was that something that you were glad happened?
Sorry, there's a little bit of a strong lag. I'm doing my best to keep up. And can you all hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Let's hope so. Yes, I'm just going to keep talking. So that's the major key change, going back to the question before, that definitely affects the question you just asked me, which was when Rivas and Sarelson moved from Denver to Portland. That marked a huge shift in like the strategical mindset of the team and how that parlayed into like what kinds of skills we were practicing more often, how practice was kind of developed, and then ultimately which strategies we started doing. And I would say that as difficult as that shift was, because it was, I will use the phrase aggressive change, that aggressive change did ultimately help us a lot shift a lot from the 2013 season throughout the 2014 season, and then there was a ton of shift from 2014 to 15.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah. And did you change the approach to the game in 2015 then? Because to use like a football cliche, that game felt like an any given Sunday kind of moment where if you guys had played the next day, you would have won by 3 points, and the next day Gotham would have won by 3 points, etc. So was there a distinct change in strategy between 2014-15? Did you approach playing Gotham differently? Or did you just think, hey, we almost had it last year, let's just stick with what we know?
I think confidence going into the game, because we almost beat them the year before. So we had the confidence to do it the next year, and everybody wanted to work harder at practice as well. But I think Eagle wanted to say something.
Number one thing I would say was a huge, like, we had just like tipped the iceberg in 2014, but really expandified. It's a new word. I'm coining that. Expandified this concept, which was being an offense-heavy team. So, like, having really strong offensive starts and prioritizing that role. I do feel proud about that particular iteration of our team and the blocker leadership we had within that time period of really shifting us in that direction, because as a jammer, I will say I have grown to love and appreciate so much offense to the point where I'm now like, wait, there's no help sometimes, and I'm like, don't even remember that 4D life that was so horrible and the trudge and ugh. So I would say that being an offense primary type team in that year and like kind of showing that it can be done. You can have really amazing offense, but also great or defense, but also great offense. And I guess having a softball background, using that as an analogy, you can have the best defense in the world, but if you can't hit the ball, you're not going to win a game. So like, I love having been a part of that kind of offensive team, and I would say Denver now is quite similar. So that has been a very smooth transition, and I'm stoked to see so much more these days.
Yeah, and I'm sure that will come up a lot in the conversation too. But Elicia, do you want to add to that?
I think it's no secret that we became really offense heavy that year, but I think another couple of things also really helped to contribute to our win. We spent a lot more time watching footage and directly focusing on our opposition. So rather than just like having a game plan that was about how we played, we had specific game plans and specific strategies depending who we were coming up against. And we spent a lot of time studying our opposition, which I think really, really helped, especially with Gotham.
Nice. That's great. Yeah, and I think this is all going to come up. Now, one last thing maybe before we get to it, and a bit of a somber note. I think a lot of the roller derby community will remember that just prior to the championships, you lost your coach. Coach Lobster passed. He had been there for you at D1s. And I guess just maybe how did the team, there's no way to handle that emotionally, but how were you able to at least control the emotions enough that you were able to put in the kind of performance that you did at that 2015 championship tournament? I don't know if you wanted to speak to that, or if one of the skaters wanted to speak to that. I'm sure it was tough on the whole league, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, Lobster had been with me for, many, many, many years at that point. And I think for me walking into the room, we were all just fairly shell-shocked, I think. And like, it wasn't like something that just happened. We knew it was happening, but everybody was just so sad. Like, it had just happened, and we had a wonderful service and stuff. But for me, I felt just like it was such an accomplishment for the team to be there, and that opening ceremony was just so touching. And I was like, yes, I wanted to win champs, but I really was just feeling for the team. And I was like, I just want the team to get through this, because it has to be so hard to have so many eyes on you and be expected to get out there and do your very best while also really being, kind of sad and like collectively sad. So, I was just awestruck the entire time by how the team could be like in tears on the sideline and then onto the track and just all business, like so tightly pulled together. It was so impressive. Like, the whole way I was just like, man, that is strength, and that is team right there. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear how the team kind of managed it, by themselves in the locker rooms and stuff.
Scald?
I agree with everything she just said. I tend to be a bit of a delayed reaction. So like, I feel like my emotional cathartic really happened at his funeral, which I can't remember. That's how bad my memory is. I can't remember if it was before or after champs, that memorial, but all I know is that I particularly want to make a shout out to Shreddy Mercury and Topher Griffin, who kind of took over, it was a gradual passing of the torch much before the end of the season because he was very sick, and like as far as like running practices and helping with the leadership of the team, those two being his best friend, but still having the chutzpah and like the see it throughness to help lead the team to keep us on track. I just applaud those guys so much, and every aspect of the leadership core that work together to help get us through it.
Yeah, okay, well said. Thanks for that, everyone. And maybe with that now, we should jump into this game. Yeah, let's start looking at some game take and see if we can get some insights and break this thing down.
Is a historic rivalry now. It has grown into that after last year's thrilling.
That's me.
Game.
Obviously. So, Juniper, leading up to this, now you're on the sidelines. That must be incredibly difficult, not being able to like control things. But how was the feelings on the sidelines with the rest of the skaters and fans of the league?
Yeah, so I mean, this was a very overwhelming time for me in general. Like, I just uprooted my life and moved halfway across the country in the beginning of August, and so we're talking about just a couple months after that. You know, the team that I came from, Windy City, like we had played at Champs the year before, at 2014. So like I had been in the environment, but I hadn't been like behind the scenes at like a Champs finals level environment, right? And definitely not with the energy that was involved here. And so it was, there's just a lot of like kind of perspective changing. Anytime you move, you know, up in league, right, from a smaller, even if it's a, you know, Champs level league to a bigger, more intense program, there's just a lot to take in. And one of the things that I've really appreciated about this team was like, you know, I was given an opportunity to skate at playoffs. I didn't have the best games. And, you know, like, so I wasn't really in a good position to be skating, but I was in a good position to definitely help the team otherwise, right? Like I was, you know, we all contribute obviously a bunch in practice and whatnot, but like at the weekend too, like we all have a bunch of roles that we're doing. And it's that differentiation amongst even the people who aren't on the track that really allows the people who are on the track to succeed and go do what they're doing. And so like I, as somebody who has a very loud voice and am tall and have long arms, like I'm really well suited to be that like third base person to be able to cut through that. And so like I knew that was my role in this game. And like I had to put aside all of the awe and all of the, oh my gosh, all this stuff is going on, and be able to really just yell and talk directly to the people that I needed to communicate with. And so it was definitely this sort of like needing to balance those two things, but also really feeling like I was contributing in an important way that was helping us win this game, which I think is a really, really critical thing when you're dealing with this level of competition, because a lot of teams don't do that. If you're like not rostered, you kind of get, you know, kind of put off somewhere else and kind of get ignored. And like this was a really great integration into the team, and part of why I'm still here and skating with the team 5 years later and have moved up through the ranks, basically.
Now, Loren, you're out there for the opening jam. Were there a lot of nerves? I mean, I know you've all played in like these huge games, but the atmosphere in the Roy that night was something else. Like I don't even know if I've still experienced it yet in Derby. How are you feeling on that starting line?
You know, my heart is beating so hard right now watching this, but I think honestly, like, I think that by day 3 of a tournament like this, you've already played 2, maybe 3 other games, and like, so you're kind of just in it. Oh, at least I am. I'm kind of in it already. I think I get nervous on the first jam, but you know, it's kind of like all right, we're on day 3, we're focused, we're, you know, kind of hitting our stride a little bit, so.
Now, Licker'N'Split, I called you, Jessica, as we were introducing it. You are skating under your given name, your government name here. Maybe did you just want to address that for this? This is the first time you'd ever skated under your name, right?
Yeah, ESPN asked me to skate under my legal name and not my derby name. So I had to change it for this game because it was going to be on ESPN and it wasn't appropriate, apparently. So,
were you okay with that?
Yeah. I mean, what was I going to do? You know, so I just did it. It was a big thing for us to be on ESPN. So yeah, I mean, of course.
Yeah, and just to add in on that, this was the year that they were going to try and make bisexual change her name too, right? Like that was this year.
I think there was a two. No, that was
the next year?
No. The bisexual thing was in Philly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Classic move by Eagle.
The Eagle lean back.
Yeah, Eagle was you talked. Oops.
Yeah.
You talked a lot about the offense. Was that the biggest difference? Because after the game, I asked you what had changed for you. You gave a great answer, but you didn't really talk about Derby. I don't know if you remember that, but at this point,
I do remember that answer.
I'm going to try to be careful. Don't drink Coke before games. Is that? I'm going to try to be gentle here, but the 2014 finals was actually one of your worst playoff games ever. I don't know if you knew that statistically. And completely different here, where you put in one of the most iconic, I think, championship performances from a jammer. Was it just the change, that focus on offense, that was the difference for you, or did you have a different mindset?
I mean, having offense literally changes the mindset. You're not out there by yourself. It makes you feel like you don't have to use all your gas because people are helping you do it. I'm certain that changes in our practice style from that season also increased our endurance overall, so I wasn't as gassed just straight up. But also, like, there's that flicker of hope, of help always, and it to me totally changes the attitude you have in the beginning, middle, and end of the game.
Hey, so in this game, we still had minors, right?
No.
No.
In 2015?
No.
Yeah.
It'd been a couple years, I think, at that point.
Oh man,
like 2011, I think.
Yeah.
Say that one more time,
that was a great
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure minus went away 2011.
Don't
I have
mind
no
me.
idea.
Maybe anyone can answer this one, but what's something you learned about Bonnie Thunders that you didn't know about when she moved to Portland? Was there anything? Or maybe I can change it. How well did you know her at this point, personally?
I mean, I knew Bonnie quite a bit because... Oh, sorry. Like, I knew her. She'd come out to Rose a few times, and I think we'd all hung out. And, I think it's definitely different when you, like, for the skaters to get to know Bonnie as a teammate. Yeah. Wait. Our first lead change. That was the thing. I remember sitting on the sidelines, watching and going, holy crap, when you guys were at like 17-0, I was like, oh, what? Is this just going to go on forever? And I was just so amazed. And they started getting points. I was like, oh. And then that's like, that tightening feeling when you're like, oh no, what's it going to be? What's it going to be?
There were 10 lead changes in this game. Spoiler alert, before it's over.
Yeah.
Now, how was it, Elicia, maybe for you here, how was it blocking against shortstop? she actually had a really good game at a 50% lead percentage, which was actually the best on Gotham. She wasn't able always to turn those into a lot of points, but what was it like to block against her? Why was it so challenging?
I don't remember. I'm sorry. I have the worst amnesia and never remember almost anything about a game after the game has happened. So I don't have any specific memory of her and why she was so challenging. I think, what I do remember is I feel like she was pretty new to Gotham at this point, so we just hadn't had as much experience with her as a team, and we didn't have as much footage to see what she did do. And she's just very good. She's very good, and we'd had less experience against her. I don't specifically remember anything that made her. I don't remember any specifics. I'm sorry. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, that's fine.
Pretty funny. We chose all of the people with like really bad memories from the team to to do this.
Some people remember every moment, but
here's proving my point, though. She just picked up lead.
Do stuff in 2019.
We played way too many games, apparently. Since this. Yeah.
I just went to the box. I definitely don't remember that.
I already have 2 penalties, which I don't remember being a thing. So
I don't remember that first jam where I passed the cap and it was laying on the ground for 12 years. Apparently, probably still there. I don't know.
Elicia, you did get 6 penalties in this game. But you did, I think you had 4 in the first half, so you did great in the second half to only have 2, right?
Yeah. I feel I remember are 3 of the first 4 like forearms, I think, or something like that. And I remember talking with like teammates and stuff about the adjustments that we needed to make to stop getting some of those penalties. I also think this was just a time for me as a skater where this was such a huge development year for me, and like the level that I was playing at and how well I played, that I was still kind of at that point where I think when you level up, you kind of get penalties. It's pretty normal. Mm-hmm. But I would like to think I wouldn't get 6 penalties in a championship game now. But you never know.
The competition's pretty good. Maybe Licker'N'Split, maybe just talk about Gotham as an opponent. Is this a team you respect as an opponent? Is it a team that you enjoy playing, or would you just rather avoid Gotham altogether at this point in time?
Well, I most definitely used the bathroom quite a bit before we played these games. Nerds. They're a very well-respected team. Yeah, 100%. I mean, Bonnie Thunders, OMG, Sexy Slady, there's Roxy Dallas, Violet Knockout, these people. And I'm actually, friends with quite a few of them. So yeah, I most definitely have some nerves going to this game. We know that they're good, and we know that they're always going to put up a challenge. So, and they hit hard.
I think this is a lot. Right. This is that line right there that you just mentioned, Roxy and Slady and Violet. And I see out there, that must just give you nightmares thinking about that.
Yeah. They all hit very hard, the whole team. Damn it. So.
And they picked up a few new skaters as well, over this kind of period. Like Fisher Price came in, shortstop who we mentioned. So they'd kind of been bolstering their ranks as well too at this point.
People on the stream chat are asking if this game was 30-second or 1-minute penalties.
30-second.
30-second. I'm pretty sure all of those changes happened in 2011. I could be wrong.
I feel like I remember 2012 playoffs having minors. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
that
we
could
were
be true,
in
actually.
San Francisco, but
Yeah.
that was a long time
I
ago.
want to look it up.
Now you're down a little bit here. Does anyone remember what the sense on the bench was at this point? Were there any nerves? Are you even aware of the scores throughout the game as it's happening? Scald, throw that to you.
It must be really delayed.
Grandpa
he goes really focused on the game.
I think I can speak to that.
Yeah, thanks, Loren.
Well, I think I probably can't remember specifically, but I think that we were really so focused. I mean, I'm sure some people were looking at the scoreboard, but like, it's one of those things where we just came so prepared that no matter what the score was, we knew that feeling good and that we were like playing our game. So I think that if we would have let the score get to us, it would have been a different story, maybe.
Can I hook onto that? I think that, of course, I mean, when you come off the track, you look at the score, it's right there. I mean, right above your head. So, but I think that we just didn't let any lead that they got, like, affect our gameplay. We were like, let's just go to the next one. That jam's over, go to the next one, start a new start. And I think that's what kept us in the game. So.
Yeah, and I think also coming up here, there's going to be a very strategic timeout.
Yeah.
Because we're down by 40 points right here, and I don't remember. That's a lot, kind of.
I do remember that. I obsessively watch the score, though. I always know the score. But I try not to say it to anyone, because I feel like most people don't want to know.
Does anyone remember what was said in this timeout here? Because this is a really critical timeout. I don't know if you know what happens afterwards. I won't spoil it. We'll watch it unfold. But do you remember? Anyone remember what was said here?
No.
Just calm down.
Probably just breathe. Just breathe. Yeah. I mean, we had the best, most uplifting coaches that even if we were down, they weren't like too hard on us, you know. That's more like picking us up and try to get us back out there and get on our feet. So,
yeah, that was a huge surprise for me. Even compared to a lot of the other sports I've played in my life, of the willingness and capacity of Wheels of Justice to just like shake off bad jams, even at like the start of a game, right? Like I remember when I started skating, like just me being surprised at how comfortable people were about like flipping a bad pancake the first time, right? Like, okay, it's a pancake, shake it off. We're going ahead. Like we're going to move on in the next jam, right? Like, so, and a lot of that is a testament to the culture of the team and the bench staff and everything like that. But like, it's, I think it plays out really pivotally in games like this, where there is a big score differential, but it's still early on in the game. There's still lots of ups and downs to happen. And I think just having that mindset is like really critical. And that's something that you have to craft over the course of a season or multiple seasons, right? Like that's not something that just shows up the day of the game. And that it was a big surprise to me to see how much that like played out in practice and scrimmages and everything like that. And the support, like supporting each other through our successes and failures and all that kind of stuff. And it really plays out in games like this where you are down, but you need to come back. And just seeing that still play out on the bench, and you can see it in the clips where they cut away to the bench, just like the attitude, nobody's yelling at each other, right? Like it's all very supportive, even though like they're up 2-1 on us right now.
But you've just started to chip away. That's 2 straight leads.
That's something that I definitely noticed with the team, like in that kind of 2013 timeframe, was the starting of like the kind of getting down to business and not falling apart on the bench, where you no longer saw people getting like mad at one another or just like really kind of like the bench looking really emotional. Like this game was like the penultimate of that. I mean, you know, down by 35 points and just kind of, you know, one jam at a time and just supporting each other. And like the other thing that was really cool to watch is the how the next lineup is just like so focused on what they're going to be doing and just really kind of like getting really tight right before they go out. Like it was so amazing to watch. Like it kind of like, even though the score made all of us that were watching want to throw up at this point, we're like, no, this can't be happening. But then we look over and like it kind of restores your faith. You're like, oh, wait a minute. They told me they have it. Oh, they have it. Like they're focused. They're doing this. It was so great to watch. It was awesome.
And Scald, you're having quite a jam here, and you get pretty excited. You don't hide it at the end of this jam. I don't know if you remember, but how do you kind of balance that excitement in the moment and then just kind of calming and bringing yourself back down on the bench? Or do you just let it go?
Oh, I let that shit go. I'm that kind. I don't. And like, I'm that person that I need to be bouncing off the walls inside the locker room before the game starts. I'm, you know, carrying the boom box and it's just an extrovert trait or what, but even mid-game, now I don't want to be like showboaty or like in your face. That's not my style, or I hope that's not how that I will, it's hard to not celebrate physically in moments, or, you know, I have been told I'm expressive, so it's hard for me to hide.
Eagle, you just said I'm not showboating while on screen. You were going.
Yeah, but I think the difference
that's
between
a question.
Eagle
I'm having like super lag.
I think that Eagle high fives her opponents, even if they knock you down, you get up and high five them, and I think that that's like so much respect, and that's why people don't view you as a showboater. So I don't know. It's a different thing.
It's the love of the game.
Yeah.
Now, Juniper, on the sidelines, I think in the crowd, you could kind of feel the big momentum shifts in this game, and just both experience it here on the sidelines, but also in game. Do you feel those momentum shifts during the course of the game?
Oh, certainly. And it's momentum is it's a two-edged sword or whatever, right? Like it can work for you and it can work against you. So, you don't want to overly rely on it, but you want to take advantage of it, right? Like, and you don't want to let your opponent up when you kind of knock them down a bit. And really, a lot of that, especially in a game like roller derby, it's weird, with the way that we run our lines, like where you have two lines that are kind of going out opposite of each other, like in successive jams, right? Like one line will go and then the next line will go. And so each line kind of has their own momentum, but then you kind of get synced up together. And it's sort of weird the way that both of those things play out and how you kind of build off of your teammates coming back to the bench as well as feed off of each other while you're on the track. And especially, I wanted to bring it up and get other people's opinions on it, especially in a venue like the Roy, where it's very loud. And I had skated there before as a member of Windy City against Minnesota during like one of their nighttime games, where it's like ridiculous and like dark and amazing. But it's still, even in this space where like they've got it well lit and everything, it's incredibly loud. It's incredibly bright. And I'm sort of wondering how that meant, like, I know sometimes when you're on the bench, for me at least, I can like shut that noise off. But there's only a level at which you can kind of do that at. And you don't necessarily always want to do it, because if the crowd's cheering for you, you want to be able to build off of that. And so, I could feel some of that on the other side of the track, but I'm wondering about the folks that were skating, especially when you were skating. Did you still hear the crowd, or were you able to tune everybody out and just have like normal level conversations with your teammates on the track? We were skating. You were skating.
Remember, Shayna said, because it was so loud, and she said, if you hear the crowd start cheering, then we have lead. And also, I think we'll see later on in the last few jams, Eagle plugging her ears.
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely had the crowd on your side here. Gotham had kind of become like the evil empire, in like sports terms. Like they're like the New York Yankees or something. They'd won 5 of the last 7 championships. They'd won 4 in a row. So I think the crowd, for the most part, was ready for change.
Yeah,
and
now it's opposite for us.
Yeah, it is too. I feel like also a lot of people knew that our coach had passed away, and that also made people cheer for us, a little bit more, because like I didn't get to speak on the lobster passing away thing, but I think something that we decided as a team is that we could either let us fall down and lose, or we could go to practice and work hard and take the championship, for lobster and for us, like do something that would have made him proud, kind of a thing, that's what I did for myself. And but we all decided we weren't going to lay down and just lose. We were going to fight, because I think people might have expected that a little bit. So, yeah.
So you've narrowed the gap here.
Derby from the balcony on the stream chat is saying how much they appreciate our variety of jammer styles on Rose. So that's nice.
So like old slow lady right here.
No, but I think that's really important, right? Because it does, it's constantly changing for the defense. They're getting a different look every time they're facing one of your different jammers. And one thing I noticed about the Gotham jammers is they're very similar, right? Like Vicious and Bonnie and Maven, they play kind of a similar type game. They're these kind of long, lean skaters. Other than shortstop, they kind of bring the same thing every jam. Elicia, is that something that maybe is an advantage where they have similar styles?
I think maybe their styles look a little bit more similar on a television set than they feel in real life. They definitely have, I think our jammers are definitely more varied, but there's definitely variation in how these jammers skate. There's variation in how they feel to skate against, like different levels of how much they want to take impact. Like, I don't want to take anything away from this Gotham team and how incredibly hard they were to play against and how good all of these jammers are. I think they're like, obviously all of these Gotham jammers are pretty heavily influenced by Bonnie. So there are similarities in that sense, but I don't think they're like, this team wouldn't have been as successful as they were if they were all so similar.
Yeah. And Bonnie Thunders is Bonnie Thunders, right? What makes Bonnie so great? What makes her so good? I mean, at this point in women's flat track derby, she just kind of dominated for years now. What is it about her?
She's a grape, and she's really, really good at skating. And what I mean by a grape is like if you have a grape on your plate and you've got a fork in your hand, and you try and fork the grape rolls away. She's very, very good at like redirecting any energy that you give her into something that's way beneficial for her and sucks for you. She's got such good control of her skates that she can, because she's been skating for so long and she's that talented, that she can like take that energy from from anything and is already knowing what you're going to be doing because she set you up in the position that you're in. she's thinking steps ahead, and she's able to take advantage of what somebody is doing really, really well. She's incredibly patient, even though she moves her feet a bunch, and she's really, really smart. She very rarely gets penalties because she knows what her limits are, and she doesn't push them unless she really needs to that point where she could get a penalty. So like she's an incredibly great skater, just sort of across the board. But I think her ability to just like completely roll when you're trying to make any level of contact with her is amazing.
Hey, we've got a question coming in from the stream. They would like us to reintroduce ourselves for those that weren't on in the beginning. And then we have Gotham Derby has tuned in. That's nice. Copy. Good to see you. All right, let's go around and let's do our intro ourselves. Licker, you're in the top corner. You can start it off.
I'm Licker'N'Split, and I was a jammer in this championship game. You want me to say more? Is that good?
It's fine.
That's good. I'm good.
Loren?
Okay. I'm Loren Mutch. I use she, her pronouns, and that's me skating.
Oh.
That's Scald Eagle with the hat.
Bald Beagle, that's a Blair Witch Project.
It is a little creepy, actually.
Bald Beagles in the dark. I'm Juniper Simonis. I use the pronouns. I am corner coaching in this game, and I block currently through Wheels of Justice.
Hi, I'm Elicia Nisbet-Smith. My pronouns are she, her, and I played in this game and still play now.
Hi, I'm Rocket Mean. I'm the executive director, and I'm the executive director and founder of the Rose City Rollers. That's it.
And I'm the Derby Nerd. I was on the ESPN sideline reporter for this championship game, and WFTDA.TV announcer as well. So 4 minutes left. Gotham they've been leading now for more than half of this opening half. But since that kind of 40-point lead, they hadn't been able to build it past 20. Was there any goals for where you wanted to be at halftime? 2014, just for a reminder, you were slightly up at half. And I'm just wondering if when you were game planning, if you said, here's where we want to be at half. Elicia, maybe if you want to take that.
We just wanted to be winning at half. Like, we were under no illusions that this game that we were in a position to have like score goals of how much we'd be up by at any point in this game. Our plan was to play a good game, play lots of offense, pull out a bunch of strategies that we had specifically planned for Gotham, and to ideally just be winning the whole time. So yeah, does that answer that question, kind of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you going, Eagle?
Wherever I was is not good. We're holding the bridge, folks. Hopefully Wi-Fi is going to be better, because I pretty much missed everything you've all said for the past 10 minutes, but talk amongst yourselves. I'll be back. Keep driving. I don't want to turn it off.
Here's another lead from shortstop again. I mentioned shortstop was the only jammer on Gotham this game to have a 50% lead percentage. Now, Loren, you're about to get a penalty. Do you remember that? Do you remember this penalty that's coming up?
No.
It's very, very annoying. It's very annoying, and I'll give you a... Oh, wait. Okay, here. Maybe... I think this is it. Anyway, it might be a little bit later, but I thought this was the penalty I was talking about. I think we're going to see a replay of it.
That is where Gotham starts to capitalize and really makes you pay nice hits.
It looks like I was needing a break, so.
That's your penalty. That's your I got a penalty face.
Yeah, I think we're going to see the replay here.
We're way better at roller derby now, though.
So right here, and a hint, this wouldn't be a penalty today. Right there.
I remember that moment actually because because I stood up like on the track before going back. Man, yeah, and I remember Hannah being like, "What the hell?" And I was like, "It was me, I'm sorry."
Such an annoying penalty. I'm glad that's out of the game. It was one of those no impact penalties, right? Where you didn't have any impact on the game.
Yeah.
I took care of those. I took care of the penalties that impacted the game. I think that's one thing that's really cool, that was cool about our Jammer Corps for a couple of years is there are some games where I would struggle, some where Mutch would struggle, some where Eagle would struggle, but I think that there was always at least two of us that were able to, have good games, and I think that was one of the reasons we were the three amigos, the successful Jammer crew. And we never were in competition with each other. We were always like picking each other up and building each other up and helping each other fine tune. And I don't know. That's probably one of my favorite Jammer. Well, it is my favorite Jammer crew I've ever been on because it was like we were sisters, just helping each other be the best. Never down on each other, not one time ever. So it was good. I miss you guys.
Well, Licker, I think you only had one penalty this game, though, Licker. So,
I had a lot of other. I've had a lot of other mess up fights games. So. Is it Eagle?
So just 20 seconds left now in the half, and they've just extended their lead a bit.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Eagle's talking. We can't hear you, Eagle. Turn it up.
Noted.
Oh, there you go. Sorry. I saw it.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
How about now?
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
So,
on a hard
the first half.
5 minutes ago.
Sorry.
So first half down by a little bit. Like I said, a year before you'd been up at half. So anyone remember what was going on in the locker room? What were you talking about? Were there specific adjustments you wanted to make, or was it just kind of get back, play our game, stay out of the box? What was going on then?
I think it was just to keep chipping away. I think that was it. Just chipping away. That's what we talked about.
So no
I have
specific adjustments or
absolutely
anything?
no memory. No.
I think at this point it was still anybody's game. And Shayna was a very she knew that she knows the game and she knows how to keep a team in line and keep us on track. And even if we're down, like she's just amazing skater, like probably one of the smartest besides Elicia that I've ever met, roller derby players for the game and how to construct it and take a team to the championship game and to win, just very, very knowledgeable. So it's pretty cool to get to play with Shayna.
So in the locker room, do you hear a lot of the skaters talking? Like, is it Shayna or is it the coaching staff or is it a mix of everyone?
It's everybody, I feel like, for the most part. The coaches and then the captains and I think maybe that year Shayna was first to talk probably, but it was, and was Hannah the captain this year too? Hannah was, right?
Yeah, Hannah was the other captain.
And Hannah as well. Like those two were a great duo together. But they most definitely always had a great speech for us in the locker room and what we needed to work on and fine tune. And from what I remember, anyways.
And maybe Juniper, is there anything that you were able to bring?
Our locker room.
Eagle?
Yeah, sorry.
I was just going to say constant and consistent halftime halftime voice that, to me, just rang so true for any game we had, and especially that game was Jess Rivas, another really incredible derby brain, and her ability to track patterns and come up with like solutions to those patterns, or just whatever we're doing. Like, it's so hard to recognize your own patterns, more so in my mind than it is to recognize patterns of the opposition, which you're like tried to focus on. So it's like, not only are we trying to undo our own bad habits, but we're trying to like change the habit patterns that have been established in that first half with our opposition. So I always felt that she had a really strong voice at halftimes.
And Juniper, I was just going to ask, is there anything you bring from an outsider's point of view into those halftime talks at this point? Anything maybe that you've seen, or do you just kind of step back and allow them to talk it out?
Yeah, so it's like, as somebody who's not like out on the track, I'm usually, or like anybody in that position on our team is usually not like directly actively contributing to like the main discussion. But what's great is like, especially during this time, like we had, Shreddy was jammer coaching, right? And so like I would hand off information to him about like, oh, hey, here's what I'm seeing in case you haven't been seeing it. Like we've been, having those like little bits of like information, like me with the coaches, and then me with the other skaters. It's like individual, just like rah stuff, right? Like, hey, you're killing it. Like, nice job. Like, oh, have you noticed that they can't stop you when you're doing this or whatever, or just like whatever, like little bit of supportive information to individual skaters, not like contributing to the team discussion. There's, like they were saying, there's sort of a pretty tight set of who can have the mic during, and we even still have this, who can have the mic during the whole group discussion. And then we often will break up and like have a couple minutes or whatever. And that's where you can have those little like one-off conversations of like, keep it up, you're doing great, rather than in front of like the whole group of people.
Right. Nice. Well, thanks everyone. And we are going to take just a quick break, but we will be back in just a few moments to see, can Rose City overcome this 33-point halftime deficit? So thanks again for tuning in. We'll be back in just a few minutes with the second half. Welcome back, everyone, and thanks again for joining Rose City Rollers Twitch stream and this retrospective of the 2015 WFTDA International Championship Final. If you're just tuning in, I am the Derby Nerd. I was the sideline reporter for this game, and I'm joined by Elicia Nisbet-Smith, Loren Mutch, Juniper Simonis, or the ghost of Juniper Simonis right now, Licker'N'Split, Scald Eagle, and Rocket Me. There's Juniper. And we are just talking our way through this incredible game in this incredible setting. When we left you at half, we were down. Gotham was up 114-81. Was the team, just one question to set us off here, maybe Licker'N'Split, I'll go to you for this one. Was the team confident coming into the second half?
Yeah, I think that we thought it was anybody's game still. I mean, we most definitely were going to give it our all. So we were going to continue to do what we'd been practicing. And that was our goal.
Nice.
The end.
Okay.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I think we talked a little bit before half, so I think we can just jump right into the game footage now for the second half. Again, 33 points is the deficit. We were in St. Paul, Minnesota, just to set things up for the WFTDA Championships this year at the legendary Roy Wilkins Auditorium, home of Minnesota roller derby. And we're getting right underway.
Fast.
I remember that was a rough cut coming from ESPN, yeah.
Just now when we were at the half, I feel like I just walked over to my house and came back, and like it's so weird that we should be all in the thick of this right now. So it's so nice to see Derby and see all you guys. Like it's such a strange thing that we're all in the middle of, and I can't wait till we get back to this on screen right here being real life, because I'm so glad. Like I haven't watched a bunch of Derby during COVID, but it's so nice just to kind of be like, oh yeah, we'll get back to this. It'll be great. So I'm really glad we did this today.
We should all be at champs, right? Right now, and Rockman, you were talking about how you're just like newsfeed. I think it was you saying it's just blowing up with memories right now. And just coming off of last year's championship in Montreal, which I thought was just an incredible event and a wonderful experience. I was really looking forward to it so much this year, and yeah, it's been tough.
Yeah, I also getting to go back to Austin was going to be really fun because like I was there when we went to Austin in 07. And you know what, Derby, you brought up the 06 Dust Devil, and I actually played in that game. So I've been to every world champs we've ever had, except for, 2020. Yeah. Big POS of a year that it's been.
Now, this is really testing your memory. Do you remember who you played in Dust Devil?
Yeah, I remember I got the snot beat out of me by Texas when you could have your entire team in the box at one time. So I got pummeled by like 4 blockers from Texas all at the same time. And I swear to God, each one of them weighed 300 pounds. It was like Derringer, 8-track, like the whole team was just like 6 foot tall. So yeah.
I think you also played Rat too, right? If I'm remembering.
Probably. We played Rat all the time though. Because we were like, sister leagues. We grew up at the same time.
Well, for the rest of the other Derby nerds out there, the first time that Rose City and Gotham played was actually October 13th, 2007. That was a 129-86 victory for Gotham. And coming up to this particular championship game, so including the championship game from the year before, you'd faced each other 5 times, and Gotham had won every single time leading up to this. Do you think about that kind of history when you're in the game? Loren, maybe I'll throw to you. Are you aware that this is a team that's kind of beaten you a few times? I know you weren't there for all of those early games, but is that something you're aware of?
Like in 2015, was I? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Well, I think that for me, Gotham was they're a powerhouse. They were like this huge giant, but it was one of those things where like you had to go into it being like, we're peers, and because at this time no one had taken them down in years, and so it was like we had to go in there being like confident. And I think, you can't really think about that kind of thing going into a game like this, Man,
our blockers are just holding it together, just like get broken up, reform. Oh my gosh, like it's so tough. It's amazing.
I think we had a lot of trust on this team this year.
Our defense doesn't get enough credit on this.
Yeah.
But look at this right here. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can talk about it. Like, this is Jessica Chestnut, right? Now, she's another one of the skaters who really emerged. She wasn't on the team in 2013, or at least wasn't on Wheels of Justice. Can anyone tell me what's her story? How did she get to this point? Because she was such a key blocker in 2014 and 15. Scald, maybe can you speak to that? I don't know if you know that.
Sure. So once upon a time, Licker'N'Split, Jessica scarpered off to Holy Rollers. They were sent to the doghouse. When they came back, they did their
penance.
Paid their emotional dues, and they came back to the team and turned out to be some of my favorite teammates of all time. Licker primarily during my time was a jammer, but Chestnuts was one of our blockers. Well, I like to say my blocker because Chestnuts is one of those blockers that you hate playing against her, but you're so relieved when she's playing for you. And she's like a pit bull, and she'd get that look in her eye if someone was coming to get me or coming to get any of our jammers. And there's just so much love and comfort when you know that Chestnuts is protecting you. It's a great feeling. So she absolutely was a key player to have in a game like this when you do have an opposition that's out to get you.
You know what else? I think that our blockers did such an amazing job of being able to really spread out the pack when our blockers needed a longer distance to go. Like it was just such smart playing, and I think that's one of the things where people started really seeing that. at these high level games where we're like, oh my gosh, as a blocker, I have so much more to learn how to do. And you see it a lot in here. You can see, like, I think Scylla was doing a bunch, and Nacho had a couple great ones too, where they were just so aware that the blockers just really kind of held that jam together and let the jammers do their thing. Love it.
I can't sing the praises of Nacho Lucky Day. Also, man, what a pivotal player. Kind of one of those, like, low-flying missiles, like, consistently, not all my is, like, absolutely Team USA level blocker, but, that just flew right under that radar. People are not ready for that chatter she produced, man. Chatter meaning, like,
Nacho is
probably
the most underrated blocker that there's ever been. Like, she's so good, so pivotal, was so pivotal for so much of our success, but somehow nobody noticed her. Weird.
Yeah. We did.
Well, I didn't want to say underrated because she was highly rated.
Okay, I know we're talking and it's really great, but can we acknowledge that fucking Eagle just ate the baby? We were just talking right over that happening. And you were like, another amazing blocker, and Eagle's out there throwing a big A-frame plow stop right in front of shortstop. Okay, we're going to get a little replay here. 1-2 tandem.
Yep.
There we
go.
Yeah,
fun. Oh, wow.
No, yeah, and here's our lead change. So you've just taken the lead for the first time since early in the first half now. So I noticed this coming out of that. Yep. No, go ahead.
Sorry. Shout out to Psycho, who's on the stream watching. Eagle, Psycho loves you. Don't worry.
Oh, God, I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, Psycho is one of our players who's been around forever. Oh man, I don't want to get her age wrong, but we actually had her do an interview with AARP the other day, which is pretty funny.
Awesome.
She still got it. Still hot.
Another lead change here. One thing I really noticed is that when you came out of the timeout in the first half, you had a series of jams that were just amazing. And then coming out of half here, you're also really good. Are you just a team that every once in a while just needs like a little reset, kind of like an internet modem or something? Like, let's just press a little reset, take a break, and then come back even stronger? What is it about this team that does that? Or is it just by chance?
I don't think it's by chance, but our locker room conversations, I think everyone should know, are like, we respect our opponents by giving them our best game. And like, maybe because when we're on the track, like, we have to look confident. We have to look that way, but yeah, we never underestimate your opponent ever. Obviously this year we weren't underestimating Gotham because we had never beat them before at this point, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I also think
this
this
is
is
really
really
game though.
Oh,
Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think even in our warm-ups when we were all getting together and getting in our own element, I don't remember. I think this was like one of the years we started like bouncing the basketball with each other and like flipping the pancake backwards to each other and just like getting into our own element and being together and not even looking at the other team yet until, we're getting to that line or like focusing on that, but just us getting together and being one, we did that for like 3 years, and by the third year I kind of didn't like it anymore, but at this time of this year, like, it was like a really nice thing for us to just get together. I don't know if I went off subject, but I was just saying about getting in the element.
I also think this is really boring, but I think I've been in a lot of team talks where people just talk about like general stuff like get lower, stay together. And any team talk that I've ever had on this team is never like that. It's always specific. It's always like specifically what we actually need to change to like fix something that is stopping our jammers from getting through or making our defense not as effective as it could be, rather than talking in generic. So I think that's why often after we have like timeouts and team talks and stuff, we come back a lot stronger.
We have a question from the chat. Derby from the balcony wants to know, Eagle, you check your helmet cover each time. Is there a story behind that? Before you jam.
So that's for like anytime I worry or have like a premonition of getting an injury, I'll knock on my helmet. And so it's like, and I think I started doing that after the very first time I played Gotham where I broke my leg. So it's not Gotham specific anymore, but I think it's now become a part of my superstitious routine, and I'm very superstitious, so not that there's any rhyme or reason to it. I just can't help it. Just like little Schmutch Mayhem can't help but to retie her skates every beginning of jam. Check her little hamstrings, the whole bit. Because they're not little, they're huge. You see those suckers, you can see them from the nosebleed section.
I love how that translates, like, regardless of the sport, right? Like, you know, I'm sure you all, you know, Eagle, playing softball, you probably, you know, had your little wrist, you know, your Velcros, right? Or
it was
right,
like
or tapping your toes or whatever. Yeah, like everybody has their like neuroses, and it's just ridiculous when some of them are like out on the track and everybody can see them, and it's like, what's going on there?
Look at the blockers. Yeah. Look at
These mixed packs are stressing me out, though.
And
What is stressing you out?
The mixed packs, they stressed me out at the time, and I'm like remembering how stressful they were. I can feel it now.
One thing that strikes me about both of these teams, Rose City and Gotham, in this is that the pace control, the ability to control the pace of the packs. I think that's one thing, especially during this time and around 2014 and 15, that was separating these kind of elite level roller derby teams from the rest, is their ability to both recognize when the pace had to change. And I think you see a lot of that here.
Was this the year
and that's
that
something that like we've worked on a ton since then, and it's something that like we have to give each other so much grace when we're working on it in practice, because it's so much stopping and starting, and like, you know, when you're working on speed control as a team with like in a contact sport, it's not easy to do like on the fly. Like, it's a thing that you have to practice and get the kinks out of, and like it's working on stuff like that it's like, you know, all of the like supportive teammate things throughout the season like really matter at the end of the year, because like we've had to go through that whole really awkward part of the middle of the season where we start doing that like heavy speed control stuff or whatever. And I just remember everybody sliding all over the place and like all that kind of stuff until we get it honed down, right? And I think, you know, it's games like this where like it was definitely recognizable that speed control in either direction is like the name of the game, and being able to like really hone it in and do something that your opponent's not expecting you to do with speed can like really set the tone and like control the entire game.
Yeah, and a lot of that, especially the slow derby strategy, is often kind of traced back to Denver, particularly around 2009. And Jess Rivas, of course, was part of that team as well. So that's interesting to make that connection here 6 years later.
That's ironic that you said that, because I was sitting on I was the WFTDA sponsorship person at the time, and I was in charge of entertaining a lady from ESPNW who was evaluating like our game to see if it was interesting. And slow derby, she was like, I don't think this is for ESPN.
Huh.
I remember that game very, very well.
Well, you know, it took some time.
You know what is for ESPN? Beanbags. And pool.
Yeah.
And darts. And poker. But no, slow skating. Nope.
Oh, Elicia.
Nope.
Well, there was a time, though, when slow skating was really, really slow. During that transition when everyone was kind of figuring out how to, like, trap the goat and things like that. So from, like, 2010 and 11, and the knee starts and the skating list jams. Noller derby, stroller derby. Yeah, yeah.
I'm glad we passed that growing pain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Look at you, Licker. You're just going. You're just putting your head down and keep
Rodriguez.
going.
I feel tired watching this.
Oh, what am I mad about?
I was angry.
Was this the year we started doing plays, you guys?
Yeah.
Like actual like name of plays? It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we had saved some for this game.
Yeah, we didn't.
This is the year we had to like.
them.
This is the year when plays were like really offensive.
Yeah,
we saved.
Well, they were like offensive starts, is what they were.
Yeah.
We would practice with.
Because y'all had plays with.
Go ahead, Alicia.
Oh, I just remember learning from Scratcher and Mangles in 2011. Actually, 2011 this time. And they taught us like Rose City plays that had names. So you definitely already had them, but this is when they got like serious, I think. Yeah.
Do you say various or serious? Because I would say
serious. Serious with an S. Isn't your wife from New Zealand? You, of all people, should understand me.
In the chat, somebody just asked if you guys have times when you have plays where you're like, just go as fast as possible. Mutch will still be able to lap the pack. They want to know if you just have a call where you.
Oh yeah,
we've done that. Yeah.
Run teams out. Yeah.
Does it have a name?
No, that's Dip Life.
It's a secret. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
You don't always.
I feel like it was more of like a mid-game like strategy of just like, okay, now let's just speed the pack up. We had different calls for that.
Yeah.
Mid-jam, yeah.
Maven had a tough time this game against you guys, and she was having a really good tournament, but only a 38% lead percentage for this game. Said that, and of course she picks up lead.
But it's
This game still gives me anxiety. I'm like sweating.
All games give me anxiety. We were talking about like footage review, and I'm like, God, it's like peeling wallpaper to get me to have to review footage because my heart's racing right now. Very comfortable.
Yeah. I'm watching myself like.
Yeah. This is the closest I've been to sportsing in like a while. So I mean, like, yeah, like I go do things, but like I haven't like watched a sportsing event in a minute.
I think between the election results yesterday and watching this, like my cup has gotten a little bit refilled.
I noticed we have Licker'N'Split out there against Bonnie Thunders. Did you on the bench? Was that something you thought about? Yeah, a lot. Yeah. Did you think about like matchups, like trying to match up jammers with other jammers, or even jammers against specific packs? Is that something that you considered?
I don't know why they kept jamming me against Bonnie. Go ahead, somebody else.
Well,
there wasn't any strategy behind that.
Both teams are trying to do that, so it's very possible that we had a normal jam with Licker out there and they somehow managed to put Bonnie in there or something. You know, it could be not the inverse of whatever you're saying. So we absolutely would try to do that even then as far as like matching jammers, more so matching jammers to packs and like trying to mix that up, I think. But, you know, every team has a different mixture of jammers, and every team has a different mix of how much they use each jammer, percentage through the game, and that kind of thing. So, and sometimes you figure that shit out on the fly because maybe your best jammers are having a crap day and their penalty percentage isn't so good. So you gotta be ready to adapt that on the fly. And those are kind of like I was talking about, like pattern recognition. You know, coaches, hopefully you got at least a coach that's good at that type of pattern recognition, but then also having your player or two that's good at that kind of pattern recognition because, like, you know, it's so hard to see your own self. So that's why I'm always fan of listening to your coaching staff. You know, no one person has a full view of the game at any given point.
So I'm just wondering if, you know, talking about sort of this like jammer level matchups or whatever, and like jammers against lines or whatnot, like what would happen if like that got taken like to the extreme? Like how far could that get pushed, do you think? In terms of like matching up different jammers against different lineups, like just before a jam.
I think we saw a ton of that with VRDL. Oh, you're being facetious?
Yes, I'm making a joke.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't get it either.
Well, as you can see, it worked out really well.
I'm like,
But hey, Derby Nerd, do you know what percentage of the jams Bonnie played in?
I don't have that exactly. I know she played a lot. I know one note I have is that she actually jammed 5 of the last 7 jams for them.
Yeah.
So at some point they were just like, let's just throw Bonnie out there. We'll see it's coming up here. Shortstop doesn't jam now, hasn't jammed for a while and doesn't jam again, I don't think. Maybe one more. But a lot is the answer.
That is some impressive stamina. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sort of to like what I was talking about with her before in terms of like her ability to like know what her limit is in terms of like not getting a penalty. She, you know, from skating with her for a couple of years now, you can tell, and against her as well, like you could tell her, like she is aware of what is happening with her tank. Like she's not a machine. Like I know she seems like a machine, but she's not actually a machine, right? Like, so she is losing energy over time, but she's really able to like hone in on the degree to which she can push different things without getting a penalty. And I think that's what really like allows her to be successful in those moments, is like she's still got all these tricks in her bag, and she knows how to use them in what combination, given, you know, like, okay, she's just been skating however many minutes in a row. Like, so she can't do all of the most ridiculous things, but she still has all these other things to do. And I think, you know, like just her stamina matched with like her awareness of like the penalty scape of the game, that allows her to really like, because this is not the only game that she's done that in. She does that in a lot of games when it's close at the end of the game, because she's able to maintain that like top level of skating penalty free in back-to-back jams, which I think is something that is like almost anybody else. Like you go out that many jams in a row as a jammer, you're just like that much more likely to have a little accident, right? And like make a little trip or like not pick your foot up or whatever it is and get a penalty, right? And she's just like so clean through it, and that's like it's super impressive.
You know what I just remembered is that this tournament is where the dip was invented, I think, because Licker's mom talked to me after our first game, and she was like, "What's wrong with you? You need to get lower." And I was like, "Okay," and then I did, I guess.
And the announcers talk about it too. They talk about that little outside dip you do to get under the blockers. Yep. Shout out to Tara Armoff and Mike Checks too, who were the announcers for this, the play-by-play and the color announcers for both the 2014 and 15 championships, and they were excellent.
We all have
now this is another timeout. Sorry, this is another timeout, just like the first half. And there they are. Yeah. So another timeout, and no spoilers here, but the timeout went really well in the first half, and halftime you came out really strong after that. I wonder how this is going to go.
I feel like I remember this. I feel like I actually remember this.
Yeah, do you?
Licker jam
that's a pre-flash. Hi, pre-flash.
I think they pulled me off. I think we took a timeout and they pulled me off, maybe. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'm probably wrong too, eh?
Yeah, I think. Maybe not. Wow, I need new elbow pads.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, hey, it's Licker and Bonnie.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, no, I guess I stayed on Alicia.
Yeah, I think this is it, Nico. This is that jam.
Yeah. This is where things really start to turn around.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mean, to answer your question, 19 times Bonnie Thunder's jammed in this game.
Ooh.
What's the percent?
But the majority of those, not majority, but a lot of that was in the second half. No one else jammed more than 8 times for Gotham.
How many jams were there in total?
I'm gonna guess like 40. That seems about right, doesn't it?
Yeah, like it's usually somewhere around 40. So I was just trying to figure out if she jammed more than half or less than half, because it's usually somewhere around 40.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's impressive. Very Bonnie, though.
Look at a whip.
41 jams.
Right there.
41 jams.
Oh, there was?
Just under half.
Oh, wow. I love it.
Oh, good. Oh, JK.
I still have that hematoma on my butt cheek. I'm just kidding. Actually, I'm not. I still have it.
Yeah. There's something else that's pretty important. Coming into the last couple of minutes of the game down by nearly 20 points, like at some point in the season, like with any kind of team sport, like where you have to deal with scenarios like this, we start practicing scenarios as a team, right? Like, and that's where some of these like plays or whatever or approaches to what we're doing like are really important, right? And so I definitely have really noticed our ability to like clamp down at the end of the games as like something that has been like very hallmark for our team. Especially, I think probably since that loss to London in 2013, I feel like, which I was watching on a live stream from Ithaca, New York, and I saw that all, in your faces and was like, okay, or Chicago or wherever I was at the time, right? And like, you all like turned it on. And I feel like there's this like end of the game, like we're not going to let another one slip away. Like we are going to like really work hard at the finish moment that, like got challenged in the year before at Champs, but like that's the most challenging time to finish a game. And like this year that we're watching right now, it's like it's the most challenging game to finish, and we're down by 17 points with 4 minutes left. Like that is, we've got our backs against the wall, and if we haven't practiced being in that position,
that was so cool. So cool.
If we haven't practiced being in that position, there's no way we're going to win this game, right? Like, and so just shout out to pre-planning for this kind of stuff throughout the entire season. I think is really important.
And speaking of Bonnie Thunders, hey look, let's start jamming against Loren Mutch.
Multi-player block being whistled. Loren Mutch goes to the outside. Sexy Slady to the penalty box. Loren Mutch, no pass.
As much.
That's much for him.
It was getting so loud in here that I could no longer hear the producer anymore.
Oh, one leg and two land. Woo. Okay, this is Elicia. This is the one where they called the timeout and put Eagle or Mutch back on. What I think.
Oh, okay. Eagle. Yeah.
This
but
is
that jam. That after timeout jam is the one that I remember feeling like we were going to win after that jam.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why you're saying this is the one?
That one was, for me, the one where you put up like 8 points or whatever. And
Gotham
look at all the fans.
That, ESPN kept driving them crazy because they kept walking in front of the penalty box.
Oh, ESPN were all over us. They were all over the bench and stuff as well. Like I remember at one stage there was a microphone like here.
Yeah, well, look at this shot, right? They're right there.
Yeah.
Did you think about that this was on ESPN, that it was going to be a new audience? Like, was that something that you were considering going into this game?
I didn't realize how cool it was going to look.
In the moment, no way.
No.
Yeah, no, not in the moment.
But it was just so cool seeing how good it looked. You know, it was really nice.
I do love the quality after the fact. Being able to look at this game, it's really well done.
Yeah.
Like the instant replays, for instance, are awesome to watch.
Hand games down there. Oh, God.
Look at
yeah.
So Bonnie Thunder's out again.
Oh. Eagles with lead.
Eagle with lead.
This is that jam.
Yeah. Where you plug your ears.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, steppy step.
Huh? Oh, that was a bad choice. Something else we were willing to do in this game that I think helped us a lot was go long. Like run full 2-minute jams, or like go longer than Gotham expected us to. And often we got extra passes out of it because we'd practiced doing it and they weren't set up for it. They were just expected, call-offs to not give away any points. We were much more worried about the points differential than we were cool with giving away a few points to earn even more, essentially.
High score.
So here it is, the 10th and final lead change.
All right, right there. It gets so loud right there. I think my head was ringing. Oh, man. Oh, that little shirt whip right there, that was everything.
A little bleep.
Oh, and the star pass. Oof.
Yeah, I think, to what Elicia was just talking about with going long, like this jam, like is a pretty strategic for the sport changing jam. Like looking back at it now, like the fact, like in this jam in particular, that like the team was willing and did run Bonnie Thunders to the point that she had to pass the hat. Like that's that caused a shift in like how people thought about, not that teams weren't running jams before, weren't trying to clear their box before, but like the fact that we had, even with Eagle out there, that we had the gall to run it on Bonnie, like when nobody would think that somebody would do it, I think, it was us punching up, right, and recognizing that we could win that battle, and I think that's something that's important for a lot of teams, and we've seen that play out over the last couple of years, as teams have tried to do different things with running jams long and that sort of stuff. But yeah, like that was I remember that moment being just ridiculous. Like, yes, the lead change even, but when it was clear that the decision was being made to run it on Bonnie, even after she got that first pass through, and to be like, okay, like, no, that's going to happen. That's okay. We're still going to run the jam and we're going to win it by 20 points, right? Like that takes like a level of trust in your team and in your coaches to know what they're doing to be able to run that play. Right.
So I remember here, like, we called this timeout, and then I remember feeling like so ready, and then we called this another timeout, and I was like, oh my God, I was ready to go though, but it's fine. But
Gotham called the first one, and then you called the second one.
We called the second one to be jerks, yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it was probably good, but I was like,
you just wanted to get out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we all noticed that Gotham's starting without a jammer because they should got a penalty.
Now they've got
Bonnie out.
Yeah. Remember what he was saying to you there?
Just
I don't remember what he's saying, but I remember thinking that, like, I remember thinking we're in a good position because we're ahead, and then Gotham's jammer's in the penalty box. There's 13 seconds on the clock, so it's a good place to be in going into this jam. And I was just like, yeah, all I have to do is get lead. I was going to keep it cool because I got to stay on the track. And then, we'll see what happens.
So much mayhem.
That's a beastie
He's
block.
closer, baby.
But also I remember all this like happening in slow motion in my mind.
Yeah.
They made you work for it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was trying to not be so. Yeah, I was trying
no
to.
pass, no penalty
Okay,
here.
so here, yeah. So I didn't get lead.
No
Right,
lead.
yeah. So then I didn't get lead. And it goes right back to what Elicia was saying about running long jams. So in this moment, I'm like, okay, I don't have lead, but literally going through my head is like, we practiced this. I know how to skate for 2 minutes, like, because we have been doing this all season. So it felt okay.
And also, Bonnie went to the
Fisher-
box, and they were going to pass it to Bonnie. I think they're going to do a cat pass to Bonnie, and Bonnie went to the box. So
As a
and
blocker,
they do
right?
eventually.
yeah, as a blocker, yeah. Yep.
Now
This would
Fisher
be
twice
season-
was a jammer before as slammed a Phage with Minnesota. But yeah, I think they wanted to get it to Bonnie. That was obviously the goal.
Because I think they went to the box twice.
Yeah, and then Bonnie's out again now.
Sure.
Did the noise hurt your ears at all much?
No.
I couldn't hear the producer.
Remember how Shreddy was hitting our helmets, though?
Oh,
That was aggressive.
it hurt. We were like,
My
Here it is,
heart
the
right
final
now.
countdown.
I know.
I know,
We know the
like-
outcome. We know how the.
Yeah, I needed to remember to breathe.
I know.
I
Still.
know.
yeah.
Oof, I forgot to breathe. Yeah.
Ugh. Here's me ending the game in the penalty box.
Oh my God.
Clock reaches 0. Our unofficial final score. Rose City.
There it is, Lauren. Like you're
Oh, man.
Bro,
Effed
man.
up back because of baseball slide. Oh. She got tripped. Some dude tripped her as she was coming to
Security
celebrate.
guard.
Yeah.
Now, Lauren, you're in an interesting situation where you grew up with roller derby, right? Like a lot of skaters before you didn't just have that opportunity because it wasn't around. Is this like, is this something you were thinking about as a teenager when you're like in junior derby that someday I want to play for the Hydra? In Canada, the cliche is always like, as soon as kids start playing hockey, they dream of the Stanley Cup. Like, were you dreaming of the Hydra as a junior skater?
Honestly, as a junior skater, I think I was just very in the moment. And then when I saw Rose City make it to champs, I was watching their playoff game in 2011. I was like so inspired, and then, started playing with them in 2012. And I think it was once I got to Rose City that I felt like this is something that can really be possible. And it's all because of, the teamwork and every single person on this team and also behind the scenes,
Yes, Rocket Me and Ugly Cry. I love it.
Got so many text messages about ugly crying on ESPN.
Well, I mean, this must have been a lot for you too, having been around from the beginning. Maybe just what were you feeling on the track? What was making that ugly cry face?
I was so happy for the team, like just so happy they held it together, and like the game was so like up and down, and like I knew they really wanted it, and it was, I was just so happy to see a team like a Rose team really gonna, after you've seen so many iterations of an all-star team be like, get close or like have like seasons that kind of fell apart and felt really just rough. Seeing a team get to take it all the way to the end where you're like, I know these players, they've been working their buns off for years, and like you see the blood, sweat, and tears, you know what I mean? Like, and so when you see them finally get this moment, it is just like, it's like relief. It's like, you know, when it's like watching your kids and all of a sudden your kid got their dream to come true and you're just so damn happy for them. You know, that's really, I mean, that's how it felt. Like it felt like all of those really kind of heartbreaking moments kind of were okay now, you know, because those were all part of the history that got us to this moment that felt amazing. And at that time, at this time of this part, like was so unbelievable and was just like, holy shit, that just happened. So it was great.
And Scald, as I mentioned, the 2014 wasn't your greatest game, but this game was incredible. You had a 50% lead percentage, which is really incredible at this level. You had 133 points for a plus minus of plus 57. You had a 9.5 points per jam. Did you feel like a certain kind of relief after this game, or was that even? Did you even care about that? You just were happy to win.
Somebody said they have jamnesia. I have passnesia. So I don't know if I even I don't know if I even think about it in those terms. I do pay attention to those kinds of numbers as far as game to game, but there's so many components that make stats wonky sometimes. I try not to live and die by them. So, you know, because like in some instances I can be used more in a defensive kind of function rather than a point scoring one. So I think it felt really good to, and I'm not even sure what my role was going into this game. Like I could have been the neutralizer jammer for Bonnie, but I happened to get lead and get points. And that's a nice like cake on the top or something. I don't know if that's what happened, but, so many components, I think, led to a better game and just maturity too. Like, you know, one more year of experience and going through the heartbreak of that previous season. I still have never watched that out fully because it's like, you know, I don't even want to get that in my head. You know what I mean? So, I think Licker said something about moving forward. Every jam is a new, fresh jam, and don't linger too hard emotionally on past jams. Learn from your past mistakes and don't do that again. So, like, don't get a cut in the last 30 seconds and you'll be fine. You know?
And Elicia, we've talked a lot about these jammers and having the endurance, but you played 27 jams. Only Shayna Sarelson's 29 was more on your team. How are you feeling at the end of this? Did you feel like you'd left it all on the track?
The end of this just felt like magic. It felt like something that, like, this team worked so hard for, but it felt like such a personal victory as well. Like, I guess I did feel like I'd left it all on the track, but it just, like, this is indescribable how this felt. It was like the culmination of so many, you know, of my personal decisions, and I remember how many people told me I was ridiculous for caring about roller derby as much as I did when I lived in New Zealand, and it was just like it was magic, and it was like, it made me feel like I'd made all the right decisions with my life, even if other people thought they were silly. Yeah.
I'm glad you made those decisions, Elicia.
Me too.
Now, Juniper, maybe I could throw this to you. This is the first, of course, of 4 championships now. You've gone to 6 consecutive finals. Where does this one rank? Like, do you have favorite championship wins, or is this one always going to be important because it was the first? I don't know. Has it lost that special feeling now?
You know, it is sort of weird. Like, especially because this, like, I was new to the team, and then also I wasn't like on the track. Like, I celebrated this, and I was like, you know, I was part of the team, and this was an amazing moment. But like, from a personal perspective, like, I don't think there's anything that beats like being out on the track and winning the championship, right? And so, like, actually at the end of this game, was basically when we started making the decision to move me over to blocking. And then I had that goal basically of being on the track at the end of the game when we, like, you know, got to champs again and won it again, right? And it took a couple of years to get there. But now the last 2 years, that's basically happened. And so this moment, as amazing as it was also like, incredibly inspiring and level setting for me of like, okay, this feels great, but I see how it feels even better in my teammates who were out on the track and actually competed in the game. Right. And I know that. Right. And I'm like, okay, I want to be there. I'm here with them, but I want to be where they are right now. And yeah, like that's where I've been working towards over the last couple of years. And it's like pretty amazing to have like a team that is supportive. And like I said before, like gives folks like me, where I was in this particular game, jobs to do to feel part of the team. So, and it's acknowledged, right? Like, you know, everybody on the team, even the folks who aren't on the charter, like contribute to the team, right? Like the whole league contributes to the team, and that's embraced and talked about, and it really helps facilitate that progression all the way up through the league, including like at that final level of like making it onto the roster and then finishing out games at champs, right? And so like I think that says a lot to the supportive nature of the whole league, and in particular of the team to be able to foster that. So yeah, this was an incredible moment, but it also was like, I want to be where they are right now.
As well, then it's motivating. Licker, maybe how did it feel to beat Gotham for your first Hydra? You've skated with Oli, you've skated with Rose City. Those were kind of the two big rivalries against Gotham. And as we said, Gotham was kind of the roller derby team of the first decade of flat track roller derby. So how did it feel to actually have that be the opponent that you got to win your first Hydra against?
Well, I feel like I've always really liked playing Gotham. I think that for me, it was more emotional because of the lobster situation than it was for anything else. I honestly, the team that I feel the best about beating is VRDL always. So for me, I obviously wanted to win the Hydra, but whenever we beat VRDL, it was just more rewarding for me for some reason. I don't know why, but it was. So I always feel like I had a lot harder games against them. So, yeah.
And you almost beat them, or met them in this game, because they almost beat Gotham the night before in the semifinal. I think
it was the last game.
Battles,
I think it was the last game.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Your battles against VRDL are coming up. VRDL are coming up, though. So you'll get that.
Yeah.
Does anyone have...
great.
Yeah. Does anyone have any just final thoughts or comments or reminiscence? You brought up Licker, how important it was thinking of lobster. Is that something that maybe carried through the celebration afterwards and the after party? Was that on your mind as you were celebrating this victory?
I think it's the only time that I've ever cried. I remember crying during playoffs when we won. It was the first time that we'd ever taken first place during playoffs. And I remember being very emotional because I didn't think that Lobster was going to live to take us to champs. And I remember I cried during that game, and I cried when we won. And I think those are the only two games that I've ever cried in my whole roller derby career. And it was because the first time was because I didn't think he was going to make it to champs. And that was what he always wanted to do, was win champs. But I was thankful that we did take the first place for him at playoffs, and he did get to be there with us. So when we did win at champs, I most definitely cried. It was very emotional. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Now,
I'm noticing
crier. It's 9:00. No, I mean, it's beautiful. It's hard to not in those situations, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just looking at the time here. Does anyone have any final thoughts or comments or reminiscences?
Yeah.
I do. I just want to say that I'm really, really glad we did this because, as you know, my day job is running the Rose City Rollers, and so it's really nice to have gotten this chance to, kind of reconnect with all of you guys and also watch the game, and really kind of, think back to the feelings and how much we love this sport. And so it's given me a lot of energy to kind of, kick the week off and really, my job for the next however many months, is figuring out how we incrementally get back to playing the sport that we all love, and do so very safely. And so I'm really happy that we had, this time to kind of watch the game and think about how much we love it, and like how like that emotion is still there. Like watching the game was like bonkers. Like just that feeling of intensity. I can't wait. I'm happy to dive back in tomorrow morning and really, do the work of making sure that, Derby is here. Rose City Rollers is here to help any league that has questions or ideas that they want to bounce off somebody. If you need help with learning how to do fundraising, if you need anything that you're working on right now to make your league survive and then be able to thrive after COVID, like we're here to help. If you need a buddy in this whole thing, we're down. I also need to give 2 plugs for WFTDA. They got the Skate of the Union coming up, which is all things WFTDA, and talking about the return to play plan. That is Friday, November the 13th at 1 p.m. Pacific. Check out WFTDA's Facebook page for that and the Twitch channel. And then Throwback Throwdown. So if you liked what we just did here, there's a virtual tournament of past games chosen by the Derby community, and that'll be streaming all day December 4th through 6th on twitch.tv/WFTDA, and also more information on WFTDA's Facebook page. So if you loved this and you want to, get your Derby fix in again, there's going to be a whole weekend of choose your own adventures.
Yeah. Awesome. Take advantage of that. We need more Derby this year. So do that. So I just want to say thank you, Rose City, for having me. It was great to be able to talk to you and get these insights here. Thanks for everyone who tuned in to this Rose City Rollers first ever Twitch stream. And thanks all of you panelists for taking the time to do this. I'm sure that the viewers loved it as much as I did here. This is a great event, and this will be saved. So viewers, if you want to share it, tell all those people who missed it. You can find this on the YouTube channel. You can still drop your comments in there as well and questions. We're going to do this again shortly, and it's great to see some Derby again. So thank you,
Derby
everyone.
Nerd. Thank you so much for coming out of retirement and doing this with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was awesome. It was really amazing to relive this. Yeah. So take care, everyone. Again, thanks for tuning in. This has been the Rose City Rollers Twitch stream and the retrospective of the 2015 WFTDA International Championship Final.